Let me give you now a brief introduction into how to navigate and use the Blender interface. First, what you will see is that Blender follows the one window approach, meaning we don't have individual windows or palettes to dock. This is all just one big work area. And this work area can be subdivided into various elements. We have here our main menu, and then here next to it you see various tabs. When I click on these tabs, you see that the interface changes. And that's simply, these are predefined layouts specialized for various tasks. For example, shading. This is specialized for animation, rendering, compositing, UV editing, sculpting, modeling, and layout. And what is now a layout? So what you see here is this very big area is the 3D modeling viewport. This is where all the fun happens. Upper right corner here, this is called the outliner. Think about it as the window where we can see all the objects which are inside our scene. And below here, where my mouse is circling, that is where we have all the properties for our scene, for our objects, for materials, and so forth. These viewports or modules can also be adjusted in terms of size. So if I go over my mouse here to these borders, and you see I can left mouse button click and drag and adjust them as needed. I can also swap the content out. You see when I click on these icons, I get a pull down list. These are all the various applications, if you want to call them this way, I could show. For example, here, show me the 3D viewport, show me a text editor, show me the outliner. See, here I selected it, show me the compositor, or the 3D viewport, or the shader editor. You can see this is very easy to do. Okay. To join two elements, we can right click on a border and say join area, and then it joins it. To subdivide an area, we go right click onto a border and then say split horizontal. And then we go left or right, there you see a gray line, and I click, and there it is split. Let's do this vertical split. To join these again, this is actually something that is important to understand. These two are not the same like this big one, but these two are the same. So what does this mean? You see when I go onto this border and click right click, I do not have a join areas. If I go to here, there I have a join area. So these two I can join. Now this is like one big area, which means it's 1 to 1. Before it was 2 to 1. Now I can join these two areas. And now I could join these two areas. When I go onto a corner, you also see that the cursor changes to a plus. Just take a look at it, just don't do it. This is the old way too, or the original main way. I can click and drag my subdivisions. But I find this sometimes more difficult to use. So actually this join and split is much nicer. So here I will just do a horizontal split one more time and put in my outliner, put in my properties. Very good. So let's take a look at the properties for the moment, just to give you a brief understanding. Here we have everything for our scene, everything for our output, and scene also, I mean rendering. Then here we have view layers. I will explain what this is at a later point. Here's everything that is for our scene. For example, there we have our unit system and the world, and there will be more options to click popping up based on what I have selected. If I have a camera selected, I will see here all the camera information. If I have a cube selected, I will see all the cube related information. In the outliner, what I would like you to do is have all this turned on. Very good. Let me bring this back. You see here scene collection and collection. What is a collection? Think about this as a group. I have 10 pieces of apple and I put them into a bag. The collection here is the bag, and the 10 apples will be whatever geometry we will create. So this way you can store and sort your environment or your design much better. Imagine you have 300 objects and you want to find something, and then you would have to scroll a long time. And here, these icons which we turned on, this is for making something visible or not, making something selectable. It's another visibility flag, so hide it in the viewport, disable in the viewport, and disable in the rendering. What all this means, later we will go more into detail. But you will see that these flags, which we turned on, are also here. So let's take a look at the viewport now. We have a menu here, more menus, some stuff here, more menu icons, and oh my god, so many things. Don't worry. Over time, this will become very natural. At the beginning, this is a lot to take in, so we'll also try to take it slow. The interface, however, is very logically designed. So let's start on the left side. Here I have my toolbar, for example, move, rotate, scale, transform, etc. The selection box. Here then I have my menus for this 3D view. Here's the add menu, the object menu. Okay. I have here a mode. Here we can switch between object mode and edit mode and sculpt mode. So object mode means I can move an object. Edit mode means I can manipulate the geometry of the object. And sculpt, well, we will go into the sculpt mode. Up here, this is where we can specify our transformation. Do we use global and local? Again, we will go more into what this means, but this is the transformation menu. Here we have the pivot point. Pivot point basically means when I have 4 objects selected and I scale, do they scale all to each other? Do all these 4 cubes scale individually? Do all objects scale to the last selected object? So this is where the pivot point will be very useful for. Then we have snapping, for example, for grid, vertex, edge, face, volume, etc. And proportional editing. We'll go into this. You guessed it, when we need it. So toolbar, main menu, transformation, snapping. And then here we have more icons. So object type visibility, here I could show and hide objects. With this I have more, how could I say that, options for specifying how some of the tools will work. This is something which we will use a lot, the viewport overlays. So for example, under here we can show many properties of an object. So again, this is just for the gizmo, the overlays. And then here we have visibility types or render types. make objects transparent, show them as a wireframe. This is maybe now difficult to see, so let's go to add and make a cube. And you see now there's a cube. You see also here instantly we got more icons. Now this didn't change. And when I have this one selected, well, we don't really see much for the wireframe since it's a box, but we could switch this to wireframe mode or shaded mode or viewport, texture preview, and rendering when we do an actual rendering. And then for each viewport, or not viewport, for every shading type we are in, we have additional options right under there. Okay. Here we have some icons for moving. Go to the camera, switch between perspective and orthographic view. Zoom in and out. And then here we have our 3D viewport. If you want the navigation cube or system, or however you want to call it. Z is up, X and Y, well, they represent the X and Y axis. You see green, green, red, red. So red is X, Y is green. We also have always a letter and just a dot. Not because we have positive Y and we have negative Y. Probably negative X, positive X based on how we see it. And then we also have even Z. So let's turn on Z. So we go to overlay and there is Z. And we can see this. So I hope you start understanding what this overlay means. You see, we can show all this information. It's just an overlay to help us understand what's going on. We can turn on statistics. It tells us it's one object, 8 points, 12 edges, 6 faces, 12 triangles, and I will go into what all this means later. No stress. Okay, very good. So let's recap. So here we have our overlays, and then this is all for various types of shading, including the viewport shading options based on what mode, rendering, material, flat, and wireframe we're in. Here's our navigation for the viewport. A little shortcut to navigate. We can press the middle mouse button, or that would be on a normal mouse, pressing the scroll wheel to rotate. Shift and the middle mouse button is pan, and scrolling the mouse wheel is zoom in and zoom out. So again, middle mouse button is rotate the view, shift middle mouse button is pan the view, mouse wheel is zoom in and zoom out. And you can also click actually on these icons. And you can click and drag. So it's really nice. Once you click on Z and click on Z again, you see we switched even between top and bottom view. You see here now it tells me I'm in bottom orthographic. I'm in top orthographic. Click on X, I'm in right or left. Y is that back or front? Okay, no, so pretty good. We have here a small triangle. When you click on it, more menus are popping out. So this is where then we have all our additional tools and options. For example, when I have this object here selected, under transform, it tells me the location of my object, if it is rotated, if it has a scale factor, and what's the dimension, 2 meters. And I can show and hide this by pressing the N key, and I can show and hide my toolbar via the T key. Okay. Maybe one more interesting shortcut to write down is also Control Spacebar. And you see we can go in and out of an object. Not object, sorry. go full screen of one viewport or show the whole program interface again. It's just the same shortcut. Control spacebar, control spacebar. Many commands in Blender use the same key shortcut. For example, selecting everything is A and deselecting is AA. So it's very easy. Just do I tap it one time, do I tap it 2 times. I would say this covers the rudimentary introduction. Let's do this one more time. Our 3D view with our toolbar, the modes, the main menus, the transformation options, snapping options, our overlays, display options, our object properties, the 3D navigation icons, our outliner, and then all our properties where we also see, for example, materials, mesh information, object information, and also information about the scenes. Our metric is if the units system is, for example, I can switch this to imperial, and now we see that this cube is actually 6.56 feet. And then we have output and rendering properties. Very good.